Still need a DM too. 100% Nick. And that, thank you for bringing me on to that, by the way, mate, because I want to bring that up. I don't like this narrative that perhaps we don't need to look for a midfielder in January because Gravenberch is doing so well. I'm not arguing with the Gravenberch doing so well part, by the way. He's been phenomenal. But my point is, we can't go through a season hoping again that as the season develops that he doesn't get fatigued or pick up an injury or a suspension, anything. One problem in that area, and I really feel like that has the potential to give a chink of light or a bit of encouragement to Manchester City and Arsenal. And we need to put our foot down on their throat at this point and make sure that we're not going to wobble and they're going to have to do something miraculous to try and get back in this title race. So for me, this definitely feels like time to push on. So if I was to make a plea to Edwards, Hughes, FSG right now, it's please learn from the mistakes we've made in previous seasons where, yes, we've gotten off to a good start and maybe there's an optimism around what the rest of the season has in store. But more often than not, this lack of that bit of business has cost us or has seen us fall away a little bit at the end of the season. And we've such a good start this year. I hope that we don't make the same mistake. Now, if the midfielder they want simply isn't available, I guess that's sort of a different conversation. But I don't buy any narrative that suggests we don't need to improve this position or supplement this position. We definitely do. Have you seen James Pearce saying we're unlikely doing anything in January? So, two things on this. And as always, I want to caveat it by saying I have nothing but respect for James Pearce. I find James Pearce to be a very nice man. But what I would say is, when is the last time James Pearce broke a transfer story? Because I can give you 3 or 4 he's denied in recent years that have come to fruition. So, he has the nickname Bad News Pearce for a reason. And I wouldn't be worrying too much about James Pearce saying we're unlikely to do business in January because honestly, as I said, I can't remember the last time James Pearce broke a story around Liverpool and transfers, you know. Even in the same publication of The Athletic, it's more David Ornstein that would be pushing these stories. So I'll wait to see what Mr. Lynch has to say when I speak with him next, which is hopefully going to be early next week. But yeah, I wouldn't be stressing about that, to be fair. He also said that Liverpool had no plans, if I remember correctly, to bring in a goalkeeper last summer. And then a day later, the negotiations had started for Mamoudarashvili. So, as I said, don't want to be disrespectful to James because he's a really nice guy. But I wouldn't be too concerned about that statement. David Lynch saying we're after Zubimendi in January. So, I've spoken with David Lynch about Martin Zubimendi on and offline and asked him straight out, do you know something that you can't say, you don't want to let on, you don't want to commit to? And he never ever gave me the impression that he did. What he has always said, and he said on the channel as well many times, is that if he showed any interest, that Liverpool would be still open to that transfer. Again, I've not seen any indication that Martin Zubimendi has changed his mind. But if he does, absolutely, I would believe we'd get it done. I mean, if he rang up Richard Hughes now and said, 100% want to move, I think it's done 1st, 2nd of January. Honestly, I think it'll be done that quickly. But, you know, I don't want to get people's hopes up because there's been no clarification on it. Yes, there's been rumours of us, there's been rumours of Manchester City and others. But, again, as far as we know, nothing has changed in that regard. Craig, I don't know why, but I only think any interest is real if Fabrizio posts anything. I don't pay much attention to what Romano has to say either. I don't think Fabrizio Romano would be somebody who I think he really has his finger on the pulse. And I also don't like him in general. I don't know what good he brings to the football world. He isn't a fan that's running a fan channel. He's a snitch. That's the way I look at Romano. I've always been honest about that. You know, he has got great information. Absolutely. But I don't get him. You know, he's basically a gun for hire in my mind. Whoever gives him money, he pushes the narrative. You know? But, you know, as I always say, it's each to their own, you know. I have journalists that I believe. You have journalists that you believe. That's no problem, you know. We all want the same thing at the end of the day, which is a successful Liverpool. You know, in the summer we had built-in excuses, didn't we? You know, Zubimendi didn't come. Hughes was only just into the club. Now we've had time They're settled into their roles. They've had more time to maybe look into the underlying data of players that might suit Arne Slot's system a little bit more. So I think the excuse of not being able to locate a player, I won't be buying that this January. Now, if they can't get a player and they try, I'll be pissed off about it, but at least we'll know that the intent is still there. If we're hearing that they can't find anybody else other than Zubamendi and Zubamendi won't change his mind, then it becomes frustrating again. But everyone's had time to settle in. Arne's had time to assess the slot a little bit more. Or excuse me, assess the slot. Arne, spot the guy who hasn't slept. Arne has time to assess the squad over the last few months, know who he can lean on, who he can depend on. But I definitely feel like, I'll tell you what, I'll summarise it this way. None of us want to be here in March or April talking about fatigue, injuries, and us falling away and letting teams catch back up to us or pass by us. That is something we cannot allow to happen again, because it's happened too many times. Jurgen was stubborn and pig-headed, and then we ended up with Arthur Melo. Everybody, fans, many pundits, all saying we needed a midfielder, we needed a midfielder, we needed a midfielder. No, we don't, no, we don't, no, we don't, no, we don't. Then last minute, yes, we do, and here's Arthur Melo. We have to learn from these situations. Needed a centre-back, didn't get a centre-back, didn't work out well for us. Ended up, with the loans that we did, or Ben Davies and Ozan Kabak on loan. These aren't solutions. They're just panicky. So yeah, we do. We have to learn these lessons, especially if we're serious about winning, which I'm sure Arne very much is.